And we're going to start with that breaking news on Pope Francis this morning. The 86-year-old back in the hospital where doctors are due to perform abdominal surgery on him.
This is video we just got in of the Pope arriving at Gemelli Hospital, where the surgery is scheduled to start in the next few hours. NBC News foreign correspondent Claudio Lavanga is outside that hospital in Rome, joins us with the latest. Claudio, good morning. So what exactly is the operation the Pope is having? Do we know how long he's expected to stay in the hospital?
Good morning, Savannah. Good morning, Joe. Well, the Pope arrived about within the last hour here at the Gemelli Hospital behind me. So essentially, the Vatican has issued a statement, taking everybody by surprise this morning, saying that today he will undergo an abdominal surgery to treat what the Vatican calls a recurrent and painful and worsening intestinal blockage. Now, they called the surgery a laparotomy. Now, what that is an incision of the abdominal cavity to treat a laparocell, which is a hernia that is formed over a previous scar that could have been formed at this point during the last surgery he had here still at the Gemelli Hospital in 2021 when he had 13 inches of his colon removed due to an inflammation. Now, back then, he spent about 10 days here in hospital. This time, the Vatican said that once again, he will have to spend at least a few days to allow for a full recovery. The Vatican also said that they will not issue another update until the surgery is over, which may be later this afternoon. Savannah, Joe?
So, Claudio, you just referenced this. I mean, the Pope has had these several health issues over the past year. You just mentioned when he had part of his colon removed a couple of years ago right there, same hospital. We know that he had a scare earlier this year. How big of a concern is this new setback?
Well, every time the Pope goes to the hospital, of course, there is a concern. This is an 86-year-old man with a medical history, and he will undergo this surgery under general anesthesia, we've been told by the Vatican, which is always dangerous, especially for the elderly. Now, just yesterday, the Pope was seen here at the Gemelli Hospital, once again, by surprise, for some checkups. But he was released literally a few hours later. He returned to the Vatican, so that sounded like a false alarm. But clearly, there was something more serious to it, which is why he came back here today. Even though it must be said that this morning he attended the scheduled events that he was supposed to attend, including the general audience, and he looked fine. So this must have been something that they've been planning for at least the past few days, guys.
So, Claudio, speaking of scheduled events, the Pope has several big trips coming up. That includes visits to Portugal and Mongolia. Could those get postponed?
Well, right now they're still on, to the point that just yesterday we received the accreditation request for his next trip, which is he's going to Lisbon in Portugal for World Youth Day at the beginning of August. So that's confirmed, at least it looks like it. And then at the end of August, he's going to go to Marseille in France. And then he has a long trip coming up at the beginning of September to Mongolia. I mean, the Vatican has said that those trips are still on, so we'll have to wait and see how this surgery goes to find out whether those trips will be affected at all. Back to you guys.
All right, Claudio, with breaking news out of Rome, thank you so much. Now to that air quality alert that is impacting tens of millions of people in more than a dozen states.
Yeah, in the South and Midwest, there's high concentrations of ozone. That's pollutants paired with heat, and that causes problems. And then over here on the East Coast, hazy skies blotted the sun yesterday, with more on tap for today. This is a live look outside at New York right now. That's not fog. That is a haze that is still hanging heavy in the air from that smoke. And take a look at these pictures we're going to show you from Yankee Stadium. Look at that sky, that smoke blanketing the field during last night's game between the Yankees and the White Sox. Well, all that smoke is a result of wildfires burning up in Canada. 9 million acres have been torched this year alone. And the health risk posed by wildfire smoke is causing concern among some experts.
When we're breathing wildfire smoke, that smoke is getting into our lungs, and they may feel irritation, a tingling sensation in their throat, some irritation. Sometimes their eyes will tear.
Can also be a heart concern. Well, it's not just these fires. According to a 2022 study from Stanford, the number of Americans experiencing at least one day of unhealthy air quality has increased drastically over the last decade.
For more details on the air quality in your area and everything else you need to know with your Morning News Now forecast, let's check in with Angie.
Yeah, Angie warned us about this yesterday, and my goodness, it got bad last night. Hey, Angie, good morning.
Good morning, guys. And we're going to see another round of that, kind of the worst of it moving through parts of New York City, especially as we get into that evening commute, much like what we saw yesterday, the hazy orange conditions that you've probably seen all over social media and everywhere in between. Let's talk about the air quality forecast here as a whole, because we do have 97 million people that are dealing with some issues when it comes to air quality across the country today. And it is in part due to that ozone as well as the Canadian wildfires. This is going to be something that we'll deal with here for at least today, likely when it comes to the wildfire smoke into tomorrow as well. So let's track exactly where that smoke is going. We have plenty of fires burning in parts of Quebec. That's specifically where most of them are still out of control. And we're dealing with already a record start to the Canadian wildfire season. It just started, and it is raging from coast to coast in that country. Either way, we have a low pressure system that's kind of ushering in all of this smoke across the New England and Northeast. And this is going to be something we deal with through the afternoon hours into the evening hours. Another thick plume is going to work its way through and leaving us with some concerns when it comes to air quality. It's not just the sensitive groups that need to be taking note of this and staying indoors or reducing the excessive activity outside. We'll likely see these air quality alerts staying up and potentially even growing through the day today. Right now, 78 or more than 90 million are included in this, but less than 20 are included in that ozone. The rest of it is all because of the wildfires. You can see the areas that we're looking at for the worst of it. It's a stretch from Lake Ontario to Delaware, just outside of Philadelphia, including Harrisburg. We're talking very unhealthy air quality. This is something that's going to be problematic, like Savannah mentioned, for people with lung issues, for people with heart issues. And notice where we come in for Philadelphia when it comes to the air quality. Over 200, over 270 for Harrisburg. So really difficult conditions for breathing outside. All of this information will be updated throughout the day today, so something to note. Meanwhile, temperature-wise, the heat still continues for parts of the plains. 91 degrees for Bismarck today, upper 70s for Minneapolis, finally getting back into those more normal ranges for folks there. But we're keeping it cool in parts of the Northeast. We end up at 71 degrees today in New York, upper 70s for Washington, D.C. These numbers are a little below normal for this time of year. We kind of moderate out just in time for the weekend. If you're looking ahead to your Saturday and your Sunday plans in D.C., get ready for the mid-80s, even upper 80s by the time we wrap up our weekend. It'll be a little cooler, but still enjoyable on Saturday in New York at 77 degrees in the low 80s on Sunday. So be something we'll monitor. Just one quick note, too. We do have some thunderstorms that are possible in parts of the central and southern plains. It does extend into places like Denver, Pueblo, down through Amarillo. We'll have the potential to see the hail maybe and some stronger winds, but also that heavy rain will be possible with the flooding concern stretching into Colorado and down through Texas, including New Mexico and parts of that Oklahoma panhandle. This will be something that we'll watch through the afternoon and evening hours today as we get ready for maybe another inch or two with some hourly rainfall rates approaching an inch. Guys, it'll be a busy day across the country, but that haze, that smokiness is going to be with us at least through the day today.
Yeah, no kidding. I landed last night from Massachusetts, and I was like, okay, this is new.
Yeah. I had a friend on a flight where they actually made an announcement on the plane because you could start to smell it in her plane, she said.
Exactly. All right, Angie, thank you so much. And when it comes to the air quality, health experts are warning today may not be the best day to take a long walk in the park, especially if you do have some underlying health conditions. So coming up later in the hour, we will have more on how to keep safe when the air quality is this poor, keeping in mind that we could see this repeatedly during the wildfire season.
Yeah, heed those warnings. Stay safe. All right, turning now to Virginia, where at least 2 people were killed and another 5 were injured yesterday, just moments after a high school graduation ceremony came to an end. Richmond police say a 19-year-old man has been arrested in connection to the shooting. He is expected to be charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. NBC News Now's Aaron Gilchrist is in Richmond with more.
Joe and Savannah, we've just learned the names of the 2 people who died in this shooting yesterday here in Richmond. A graduate of Huguenot High School, 18-year-old Sean Jackson, and his father, 36-year-old Renzo Smith. It was just after 5 o'clock in the evening when graduates had left the ceremony from the Altria Theater here, outside on the sidewalk, taking photos, celebrating with their families, and suddenly gunfire erupted. There was a scramble at the scene here, as you might imagine, people trying to get back inside the theater, away from the gunfire. When it was all said and done, 7 people had been shot. Several of them rushed to the hospital. A couple of them were able to get into cars and go to the hospital. And ultimately, 2 people, as we said, died here. We also understand that VCU police, the university's police department, was able to capture a suspect fairly quickly after the incident happened. Police say that they have identified a 19-year-old who will be charged with second-degree murder here, although they have not released his name to the public just yet. Still today, there is a lot of mourning that's happening in this community. What was supposed to be a time of celebration is now a time of intense sadness for so many in this community. We also know that all of the other graduations that were scheduled to happen this week for the Richmond Public School District have now been canceled. Back to you.
All right, Aaron Gilchrist, just heartbreaking. Thank you. Well, new this morning, former Vice President Mike Pence makes it official and joins that growing field of Republican presidential candidates.
Today, before God and my family, I'm announcing I'm running for President of the United States. We can bring this country back. We can defend our nation and secure our border.
Pence officially launched his bid for the White House earlier this morning. He released that campaign video taking aim at President Biden. He also appeared to take on former President Trump, though he did not mention Trump specifically by name. Pence, now the 9th candidate vying for the GOP nomination, and North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum also expected to announce his bid today. Just last night, former New Jersey Governor Christie held a town hall in New Hampshire, kicking off his second run for the White House. NBC News national correspondent Gabe Gutierrez has the latest.
Christie making it official, kicking off his White House bid in New Hampshire. Back in 2016, Christie endorsed Donald Trump.
There is no better fighter than Donald Trump.
But now the brash former New Jersey governor is a fierce critic, arguing he's the strongest to take on Trump and slamming other Republicans for not doing the same.
They kind of cozy up to him. They hope that he implodes and that if they're nice to him, that they'll inherit his voters.
He joins a growing GOP field, 10 Republican candidates by the end of this week.
They're at 1%, some are at 0. I hear Chris Christie's coming in. What's the purpose? And he's polling at 0.
But some New Hampshire Republicans tell us they're looking for a Trump alternative.
Would you prefer Chris Christie over Donald Trump?
Right now, I'm afraid yes.
Why?
Too many issues where he's too self-absorbed.
Others backing the former president.
I like everything he's done about the wall. I love immigrants, but I just like him coming in legally.
Trump's top rival, Governor Ron DeSantis, touting his economic record in Florida.
In Washington, they're adding trillions of more in debt. In Florida, we're running budget surpluses.
Chris Christie is staking his campaign here in New Hampshire, but he faces an uphill battle. The growing GOP field may end up giving Trump an advantage, but the Christie campaign tells us that it plans to engage Trump and act as a counterpunch. Back to you.
All right, Gabe, thank you so much. We are learning more and more about the investigation into former President Donald Trump's handling of classified documents. NBC News has learned about 24 Secret Service agents have been subpoenaed or have appeared before a federal grand jury in Washington that's looking into the matter. For his part, Trump has denied any wrongdoing. For more on this, we're joined by NBC News Justice reporter Ryan Riley. Ryan, good morning to you. So this is an unusual circumstance to have Secret Service agents testify in an investigation involving a former president. What can you tell us about this testimony and what kind of information prosecutors hope that these agents might have?
Well, that's a lot of Secret Service special agents. You know, that's 24 special agents that they've spoken with. So you have a pretty comprehensive view, you would imagine, as to Donald Trump's handling of classified information and his practices, because these are the eyes and ears of I guess, the government and the investigation in this matter. These are people who are with Donald Trump all the time. This is really kind of an unprecedented situation because of how close Secret Service agents get into the lives of the people that they follow. They just have a ton of information. So it's certainly something that I would imagine makes Trump very uncomfortable and would probably make anyone who was being followed around by a protection detail uncomfortable, because they just know the intimate details of their lives.
So, Ryan, the New York Times also reporting that Mark Meadows, who is the final chief of staff in the Trump administration, testified before a federal grand jury. They were hearing evidence in the Justice Department's investigations into the former president. What do investigators want to hear from Meadows, and what could this mean for Trump?
Meadows is really one of those key figures, I think, in this, because we've seen him sort of a disembodied sort of Mark Meadows, right? We've seen messages that have come from Mark Meadows that have been sent to others. A lot of those came out over the course of the January 6th committee's investigation. His text messages, including putting pressure on the Justice Department. And sending along some of these bogus claims of voter fraud and pretty outrageous claims that really had no basis in reality, including ones that were based out of Michigan off of someone who was later parodied on SNL, just sort of sending along a lot of garbage to the Justice Department. So I think that, the pressure points of that investigation will be really interesting to see what Meadows knows about what he, because he was really at the center of this for a lot of those key days leading up to January 6th and on January 6th itself in terms of what the president was up to.
So, Ryan, there's some questions about having two grand juries hearing testimony in this investigation, one in D.C., one in Florida. Do we know how they're being used and if they're seeing the same information?
I think we're going to find out more about that, in the coming days, because really there is a lot of complications to this matter. And because grand juries are secret and it's basically, it's unlawful for members of the government to talk to you about an ongoing grand jury, it's been a little bit complicated because reporters basically have to figure this out from people who are, either representing people who are testifying before the grand jury or from people who are testifying before the grand jury themselves. So it's a little bit of like putting together these pieces of a puzzle. But, there clearly is some interaction between these two entities. There's a number of different options for how this could be playing out. But I think, right now, all eyes are sort of on Florida to see whether and how this is going to play out in the coming days as we expect testimony this week.
All right, Ryan Riley, thank you so much.
Now to Ukraine, which is dealing with the aftermath of yesterday's devastating dam collapse.
The breach sent floodwaters hurtling toward nearby towns and villages and turned streets into rivers. Kyiv estimates more than 40,000 people are at risk, with rescuers rushing to evacuate people from the hardest hit areas of the southern Kherson region.
Ukraine and Russia have both accused each other of blowing up the dam, but the White House said it could not conclusively say what happened. Speaking yesterday, the UN's aid chief said the disaster will have major humanitarian repercussions.
The sheer magnitude of the catastrophe will only become fully realized in the coming days. But it's already clear that it will have grave and far-reaching consequences for thousands of people in southern Ukraine on both sides of the front line, through the loss of homes, food, safe water, and livelihoods.
NBC News military analyst Colonel Jack Jacobs joins us now to talk more about this. Colonel, always good to have you. Great to see you here in studio. How long could something like this take to recover from? What's your reaction to that grave and far-reaching consequences we just heard there?
Well, we have to remember that this river starts all the way up in Smolensk in Russia, and it's a vast drainage area, huge river basin that dumps millions and millions of gallons of water into the Black Sea. Breaking that dam then floods all the cities and towns southwest of the dam. And more than just making it difficult to recover, to save people who are flooded out, heard 40,000, maybe as many as 50,000 people are all flooded out, is the danger of cholera and other diseases because of the water that washes over this entire basin. So it might take a long time. And in the interim, between now and then, you're liable to have a lot of casualties.
So, Colonel, as we mentioned, both sides are blaming each other for this. The U.S. saying it's too early to know exactly what the cause is. How does this investigation proceed? Do you see the U.S. playing a role at all in that?
Well, we're gonna send people over there to give a hand in the investigation because we do have a great deal of experience in this sort of thing. But consider this. This area, this dam, has been under the control of the Russians for more than a year. If you're in a defensive position like the Russians are, you plan ahead, which means that if you're considering the possibility of having to leave the area, you set explosives on major supply routes like roads, on bridges, and dams like this. And it's entirely possible that either accidentally or perhaps on purpose, my money's on the Russians having done it.
Yeah. Let's also talk about this counteroffensive that we've been anticipating from Kyiv. There's been questions in recent days. Have we seen some of these battles spark up? Is this the start of it? Are we still waiting for it? How could a catastrophe like this impact those plans?
Well, one of the arguments for the Russians having done it is that it makes it much more difficult in this area for the Ukrainians to conduct a counteroffensive. It doesn't help the Russians either, but don't forget this is farther. The results of the dams bursting far southwest of where the Russians are. So my money, again, is on the Russians having done it to make it more difficult for the Ukrainians to conduct a counteroffensive.
Colonel Jacobs, we always appreciate your expertise. I'm still thinking of all the incredibly profound things you told us, too, when you joined us and spent your Memorial Day morning with us. So we appreciate you all.
Thanks for having me on the program.
Absolutely.
British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is in America this morning. It's his first official visit to Washington since he got that job in October. He's set to meet with President Biden as well as members of Congress during the trip. NBC News White House correspondent Ali Rafa joins us with a preview. Ali, good morning. So what is on the British Prime Minister's agenda for today, and what are the big priorities for this visit?
Yeah, Joe, good morning. Well, it's no secret how special and strong this longstanding relationship between the U.S. and U.K. Has been for hundreds of years now. And this visit is going to aim to strengthen that alliance even further. So we know that Prime Minister Sunak is going to head to Capitol Hill today to meet with members of Congress. Tomorrow, he's going to meet with U.S. business leaders as well as obviously President Biden. And he has a couple of goals during this trip. The two main ones are going to be specifically to strengthen the economic ties between the U.S. and the U.K. We know that free trade agreement that was talked about between the U.S. and U.K. during the Trump administration has been put on hold the past few years. He's aiming to strengthen this economic alliance to build some jobs in England, especially as Britain continues to struggle with their adjustment post-Brexit. They're dealing with sky-high inflation. So Sunak is trying to establish himself as this stable, reliable British leader who can really rally for this support for Britain on a world stage. Secondly, we expect Ukraine to be a major focus of this trip. Obviously, the U.S. and the U.K. have been in lockstep with their support of Ukraine over the past year. The U.K. was the first European country to back Ukraine with actual military and financial support. And we've seen over the last few months these steps by Britain to support Ukraine even further. They're promoting Ukraine's involvement in NATO. They're saying, if we had F-16 fighter jets, we would be sending them to Ukraine. So it's going to be interesting to see how this meeting could potentially boost and spark more U.S. support, especially with that important NATO summit coming up next month in Lithuania.
Let's talk specifically about the meeting with President Biden tomorrow. What can we expect from that? We know that the UK's had a few prime ministers recently. So how strong is the relationship between these two men right now?
Yeah, so we're told that they already share this warm relationship. And this isn't the first time they're going to be meeting. This is the first time Prime Minister Sunak is going to be visiting the White House as prime minister. But these two have met 5 times already. So we expect this to be a warm discussion that these two are going to share. They're expected also to hold a joint press conference. And the White House is saying that in addition to those topics I mentioned earlier, they're also going to talk about climate change policy, strengthening the economic relationship between the two countries, as well as, quote, reviewing developments in Northern Ireland as part of their shared commitment to preserving the gains of the Belfast Good Friday Agreement. We saw them come together when President Biden visited Ireland. That was part of his trip, talking about that with the British Prime Minister.
Quickly, while we have you, one more thing I want to ask you about. Secretary of State Blinken is heading to China now in a few weeks to take part in talks there. That's according to 2 U.S. officials. We know those previous planned trips, that previous trip to China was postponed because of the Chinese spy balloon incident. So what can we expect this time?
Yeah, this is something we've been asking about for months now, whether this trip would even eventually happen. And so now we're hearing from these officials that this trip is set to happen. We still don't know when exactly it will, as well as any other details. But as you mentioned, this is coming as U.S. relations with China are at an all-time low. But we know that when President Biden met with President Xi in Singapore, he did say that Secretary Blinken would indeed finish and complete this trip. So that seems to be following up on that. But all eyes are going to be on this trip when it actually does happen.
To put it mildly. All right, Ali Rafa, thank you so much.
Well, on Capitol Hill this morning, the fallout is being felt from the deal between the White House and congressional Republicans to raise the debt ceiling. The drama's not over. 11 House Republicans are angry with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy for his handling of the deal, and they took a really unusual step. They joined with Democrats to block a procedural vote on a bill regulating gas stoves. NBC News congressional correspondent Julie Sirkin joins us now with more. And if that sounds wonky to you at home, don't worry. She's going to walk us through it. Like most things in Washington, this is not really about that gas stove bill, which we were talking about a lot a few months back. But what are these 11 members of the GOP really upset about? And how does this gas stove bill play in here?
Well, Savannah, play Drake's trust issues, because that's literally what this is about. These 11 members of the House Freedom Caucus who voted against that debt deal struck between Speaker McCarthy and President Biden have trust issues with Speaker McCarthy. They don't trust his leadership. Broken several promises that he's made when he was trying to get the gavel. Now, the tough part for us as journalists trying to cover this is a lot of these deals were made behind closed doors. Whatever promises McCarthy made the House Freedom Caucus and vice versa, we don't know much about. And leadership is denying that they broke any of these assurances made to House Freedom Caucus members back in January. But let's talk about where we are now. These 11 members voted against a rule, basically a procedural step that is required in the House for any bill to come up. This effectively blocks the majority, in this case Republicans, from legislating. And there's a couple of reasons for that. They are angry that Speaker McCarthy struck this deal with President Biden over the debt limit. They are angry that McCarthy did not make the most conservative deal he could have, despite McCarthy and leadership saying, listen, we only control one chamber. We only control the House, half of one chamber, rather. The Senate, Democrats control the Senate. So we did as much as we could.
So Speaker McCarthy, if we remember back to this, had to cobble together a lot of groups to become Speaker. That was a drama all in its own with the several votes it took. Well, now there's talk of a motion to remove him. Should he be worried about his job? Is this at this level that some Republicans are angry with him?
Well, if you ask conservatives who are threatening that motion to vacate, that motion to remove him, he should be. But there is talk that that is a long ways off. Now, despite that, they're already causing problems for McCarthy and leadership. And with this vote yesterday, they effectively showed leadership, showed McCarthy that even despite a motion to vacate, even with McCarthy keeping that gavel and keeping his job, they can make his life really tough here. Now, today, the House is going to come back into session. They're going to attempt to take up this rule again. McCarthy's been holding meetings with all of these different folks, all of these different factions of his conference to try to get them on the same page. But as you said at the top, the drama with the debt limit might be over, but in all intents and purposes, the real drama, the real work for McCarthy here has only just begun. We're only a couple months into this new Congress. He still has a year and a half left to legislate with a very, very, very slim majority that is now quite angry with him over this debt deal.
Absolutely. And what went down with the gas stove bill? First time in 20 years a vote like that has not gone through. Julie Sirkin, thank you very much for reporting this morning.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.